People don't realize that Potter took over and made the Super Bowl bigger than what it should be, as George Bailey did not stop Potter, so therefore he made it better than what it was. And in 1966, the Super Bowl era began, as the league, the NFL, and the AFL did not merge, but we have both the leagues right here. In the first leg, Kansas City went 14-0. They went undefeated, and Dallas went 13-1. The leaders were easily Tom Flores of Oakland was 2 yards short of going for 4,000. Imagine that, only 2 yards short. Joe Namath had 40 interceptions. He was unbelievable. But Len Dawson had 38 touchdowns, and then the All-Pro. Meredith, and Flores. That was the All-Pro. There was the All-NFL team and the All-AFL team. The All-Pro team was Meredith and Deacon Jones. Now there was more than one playoff game, as the 1966 playoffs started in the first Super Bowl. Dallas beat the Rams 28-7 in the first round. Kansas City came back from 14-3 down to win 20-17. They won 20-17 on a field goal with 129 left. A touchdown field goal, 10 quick points. They won 20-17. Super Bowl I was Kansas City. The AFL blowing out the NFL 45-14. Kansas City was really good. Len Dawson was the MVP. And the Kansas City Chiefs won Super Bowl I. Len Dawson, 323 yards, almost a great rating. They blew him out over 2-1 in total yards. Dawson, 16-21, 323 and a touchdown. One of the best ever. Well, that means that in 1967, the AFL tried to keep their dominance going. And in the two leagues, Washington, New York, the Rams and Green Bay won, while the Jets and Oakland had a chance. The leaders, Sonny Jorgensen, and again another 4,000-yard passer, the only 4,000-yard passer there was. Joe Namath had 42 interceptions. Oh my goodness. Jorgensen had 41 touchdowns. He was incredible. Hall of Fame numbers there. The All-Pro team, Jorgensen. And on defense, Johnny Robinson for the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl II would be the first one for the Raiders. And in the 1967 playoffs, Houston and Philadelphia. What the heck? Okay, here it is. Houston and Philadelphia. I don't know. Oh, I've got the wrong one. Sorry. 67 playoffs here. There it is. As Washington beat Green Bay 21-10. The Redskins in 67. Green Bay and Vince Lombardi are still no championship. And the Rams beat the Giants 41-13. In the conference championships, the Rams beat the Redskins and Oakland blew out the Jets. And the Rams beat Oakland to win their first Super Bowl. The LA Rams, Roman Gabriel, 198 yards, 19-28, 3 touchdowns. The Rams just blew them out. And the fearsome foursome got a championship here. Very big. That was 1967. 68, with the AFL and the NFL with one title apiece. It was getting close to a merger. Dallas again, 13-1. Baltimore, 12-2. The Jets, 11-3. Oakland, 12-2. The leaders, Joe Namath in passing. Touchdowns, Namath had 31 touchdowns, and he was better with the interceptions. Bart Starr, the best passer, And taking a look in the All-Pro team, it was Earl Morrall for Baltimore and Deacon Jones for the Rams. In Super Bowl III, Oakland beat Baltimore 20-13. How'd they get there? Baltimore beat Detroit. Dallas won in overtime against Cleveland on a safety. Then Baltimore killed Dallas. Oakland beat the Jets. And the Oakland Raiders upset the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III in the Orange Bowl. They won 20-13. They upset Baltimore. Baltimore was 18.5-point favorites, and Oakland came around and they beat them. Taking a look, it was not apparent who the MVP was. It was Dave Grayson, 7 tackles, but he had 3 interceptions. So going into 1969, the last of the separate leagues, the Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Detroit won the divisions. Well, the New York Jets and the Oakland Raiders again won their divisions. And taking a look in the leaders, Darryl LaMonica, 3,900 yards. You take a look at touchdowns, LaMonica with 32. LaMonica rating him 90.8. Looking really good. And then the All-Pro team of LaMonica and Deacon Jones again. Fred Biletnikoff with 84 receptions. Rushing yards, Gale Sayers with only 1,000. Looking at Super Bowl IV, 1969. Super Bowl IV went to Oakland. Their second straight Super Bowl victory. They beat the Colts and they beat Dallas. How'd they get there? Well, Detroit beat Cleveland in overtime. Cleveland's second straight overtime loss. And Dallas beat Baltimore in an unbelievable game. A 10-yard touchdown pass from Craig Morton to Norman with 25 seconds to go. It was 24-17. Dallas beat Detroit. Oakland beat the New York Jets. Again in a rematch. And in Super Bowl IV, the Oakland Raiders are 2-time champions. 2-time champions for the Oakland Raiders. So in 1970, you would expect the Oakland Raiders to be favorites. Well, the Oakland Raiders were 8-6, and they weren't in the playoffs. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City won their divisions. Well, Dallas, Minnesota, and San Francisco won it. The wild cards, Miami got the wild card. New York Giants got the wild card. And then the leaders, Darryl LaMonica with 3,000 yards passing. It was pretty good. Rushing was Larry Brown for Washington with 1,000 yards. John Brody and Carl Eller, the MVPs. And the Super Bowl winner of 1970 was the San Francisco 49ers. How did they do it? Well, the 49ers beat the Giants. You can see in the first round, Kansas City beat Cincinnati. Baltimore beat Miami. Minnesota beat Dallas. And San Francisco beat New York. Then Baltimore beat Kansas City. San Francisco killed Minnesota. And the 49ers win the championship 27-24. Jim O'Brien in Super Bowl V with the field goal with the extra point. Sorry about that. He did not win the game. As you can see, it was a tough day for Baltimore. But San Francisco, 390 yards. They ended up winning. It was a blunder bowl, 3 turnovers apiece. But the 49ers got their first ever championship there. Now for 1971. The Bay Area had won the last 3 Super Bowls. And seeing this, Miami, Cincinnati, Kansas City won in the AFC. Well, Dallas, Detroit, and Atlanta One in the NFC. The wild card goes to San Diego at 7-6-1 and San Francisco at 9-5. The defending Super Bowl champions. John Hadle, 3,000 yards. John Brockington for Green Bay. The leaders, the All-Pro. Roger Staubach for Dallas wins the MVP. Ted Hendricks of the Baltimore Colts. The Stork. He won the defensive MVP. And winning the 1971, this is Super Bowl number 6, were the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas wins their first Super Bowl. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City, a formidable foe, as they beat Cincinnati. Miami beat San Diego in the first round. Detroit beat Atlanta, and Dallas beat up the defending champions. Kansas City beat Miami, and Dallas beat Detroit 12-9. And then Dallas beat Kansas City. They were behind in the fourth quarter, but a field goal. No, they were ahead in the fourth quarter, but a field goal and 2 field goals, including a 52-yarder by Clark, meant that they were champions. Mike Clark kicked 2 field goals, and he won the MVP. They were really big. Very spurious there. 1972. 1972 saw an emergence of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Miami, some people said they could go undefeated. They had a strong year, but of course those people that said the 1972 Dolphins would be undefeated were absolutely wrong, as Miami goes 11-2. Those that say Houston wouldn't win a game were correct, as they go 0-14. Pittsburgh went 11-3. Denver gets into the playoffs there. In the NFC, the Giants, Detroit, and the Rams. And in the wild card standings, Cleveland gets the AFC wild card, while San Francisco again gets the NFC wild card. In the leaders, Archie Manning looking good. Dan Pastorini with 57 times he was sacked. It was crazy. And Ron Sellers and Charlie Taylor were there too. In the Super Bowl number 7. In Super Bowl number 7, the Detroit Lions win their first Super Bowl ever over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh killed Denver. Miami won in overtime again. Cleveland lost 3 times in 4 years in overtime in the playoffs. If it goes the other way, Cleveland might have 3 more Super Bowls or championships. Detroit, 30-20 winners, and the LA Rams, 21-12. Then the Steelers beat the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. And Detroit beat the LA Rams 23-5, and Super Bowl 7 winners are Detroit. Greg Landry, the MVP, 12-17, 181 and 3 touchdowns. They pulled away. They led 24-6 at the half, and it was 34-13 the total. It was 303-187, but for the Steelers, it was their first Super Bowl appearance. 3 touchdowns for Greg Landry as he went to be a Super Bowl MVP. 1973 and Super Bowl 8. Super Bowl 8 saw some familiar foes, but some not. Buffalo won the AFC East. They're getting better, but Cincinnati went 12-1-1. Oakland went 10-4, and the Steelers went 10-3-1 to get the wild card. In the NFC East, Dallas was 10-4, Green Bay 9-4-1, the Rams 10-3-1, and Washington got the wild card. When it came to leaders in 1973, Roman Gabriel passed for 3,780 yards. Well, the Snake had a 110.6 rating. The All-Pro team, O.J. Simpson was the offensive MVP, Claude Humphrey defensive. And there we go. And Super Bowl 8, though, was a little different. Super Bowl 8 had Washington beating Cincinnati. The Bengals made their first ever Super Bowl. Here's how it happened. Oakland beat Buffalo, Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh, Green Bay beat Dallas, and Washington beat the Rams. And the next week it was Cincinnati blowing out Oakland and Washington winning 7-6 with 5:18 to go, a 29-yard touchdown pass. And then Washington won 20-13. Sonny Jurgensen was absolutely pathetic. Ken Anderson was worse. There was a combined 80 yards passing. Combined 80 yards passing in the game. And the MVP was Herb Mulkey for Washington. And there you can see how ugly the game was. Neither team got 200 yards. Oh my God, was that a terrible game. The drives, punt, punt, fumble, fumble, punt, punt, end of half, punt, missed field goal, punt, 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 downs, punt. Oh my God. 20-13, and there's the bracket. Well, that means the changing of the guard now. Super Bowl 9 coming up. Pittsburgh was 11-3. Oakland was 12-2. Again, the Raiders wanted to get in. Miami was 11-3. Miami wanted to win the Super Bowl this year. Miami and the Raiders looked really good. The Redskins again, 12-2. They wanted to be repeat champions. Minnesota 10-4, and the Rams were 8-6. The leaders, Joe Namath. Nobody got a 3,000 yards passing. Billy Kilmer was good. But you take a look at rushing. Otis Armstrong for Denver had 1,300 yards. Franco Harris had 1,100. The All-Pro team, Ken Stabler. And for defense, L.C. Greenwood. Super Bowl 9. Super Bowl 9 ended up with the Steelers beating the Rams 13-12. You can see that it was a game where Joe Gilliam won the Super Bowl. Joe Gilliam became the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl as he beat John Hadle of the Rams. They win 13-12 as a returned kickoff for a touchdown, the missed extra point by the Rams. The Steelers dominated, only giving up 35 yards rushing. And Colin Bryant of the Rams won the MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, who was on the losing team. The Steelers winning their first Super Bowl and Super Bowl number 9. How did it happen? Pittsburgh beat Miami. Oakland beat the Jets. The Rams butchered Minnesota. And Detroit beat Washington. Well, Pittsburgh beat Oakland in an unbelievable game. And the Rams beat Detroit. Pittsburgh and Oakland went to the wire. And Roy Gerela, 39-yard field goal. As the Steelers missed one field goal before. And then they scored with 17 seconds to go to win the game and go to the Super Bowl. And then that was it. Which brings us to Super Bowl 10. And Super Bowl 10 so far was basically Baltimore first, Cincinnati second, Denver third, and in the third division winner, fourth division winner in the NFC, Dallas. Then Minnesota, then the LA Rams were 13-1. When it came to the wild card in the AFC, there was a tie between Pittsburgh and Miami. But Pittsburgh had the better conference record. In the NFC was St. Louis and the St. Louis Cardinals there. Fran Tarkenton had 3,000 yards passing, and he had a lot of passing attempts. And the All-Pro Fran Tarkenton won the MVP, and John Dutton for defense of the Colts. Winning in Super Bowl number 10. It was the Rams beating Denver. Denver, the surprise team. Denver beat Cincinnati 30-6. They beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh beat Baltimore 20-17 in an upset. Minnesota won in an upset, and the Rams blanked St. Louis. Denver won, and the Rams won. And the Rams won 20-13, 59 yards with 6:55 to go. The interception return of Ramsey. James Harris, the second African-American quarterback in its many years, dispelling any stupid myths people used to have. Stupid myths were done and thrown out the window as back-to-back years were victorious. But the Rams get a Super Bowl championship, and they've been knocking on the door, and they get one here. Again, the first one since Super Bowl number 2. When they beat the Oakland Raiders, they now beat Denver. Something about the NFC West. 1 second here as I go and I open up another one. Here we go. 1976, the centennial year, the bicentennial year of the country, had New England at 12-2 and their strongest team. It had Pittsburgh, it had Oakland, and Baltimore was 11-3, and they got the wild card. St. Louis was 12-2 and strong. Minnesota 11-3, and the Rams were 9-5. The leaders here. What in the world? There it is. Mike Livingston at Kansas City had a great year, the only 3,000-yard passer. Well, Kenny Stabler was really good again, 37 touchdown passes. Craig Morton had a tough year with the New York Giants. The All-Pro team had Ken Stabler as the offensive MVP and Jack Youngblood. And in the Super Bowl for Super Bowl number 11, it was the Minnesota Vikings defeating the Oakland Raiders 42-30. How'd they get it there? Well, Oakland beat Pittsburgh 24-14. Baltimore beat New England 34-6. Minnesota won 16-9 over the Atlanta Falcons. And Dallas won in overtime against St. Louis. Oakland blew out Baltimore. Minnesota won on a safety. On a safety where the snap went out of the end zone. And that won it. And Minnesota in the Super Bowl. Fran Tarkenton, 26-37 for 373 and 3 touchdowns. Very big as they ended up scoring with 7:45 left. Fran Tarkenton, the MVP. Fran Tarkenton wins the Super Bowl against Oakland. And then he went on to make video games named after him. Today, many people like to play Tarkenton 22. As the other coach, John Madden, never got in to anything like that. Tarkenton 21 was the best of all the series games. People still play Tarkenton 08, and they download it for the PC. They download mods. 1977 was the beginning of the ends to some franchises. Baltimore was 10-4. Houston was 8-6. Pittsburgh had a bad year. And Oakland was 12-2. Well, Dallas was 11-3. Chicago 9-4-1. And Atlanta was 11-3. The Rams got the wild card. The leaders: Jim Hart, 3,000 yards. Joe Ferguson for Buffalo, 3,000 yards. Walter Payton at 1,831 yards. And the All-Pro was Walter Payton, the MVP, and Lalo Alzado for defense for Denver. The Super Bowl, simply Super Bowl number 12, started out, Baltimore beat Houston, Denver beat Oakland, Chicago beat Atlanta, Dallas beat the Rams. Then Denver beat Baltimore, and Dallas beat Chicago. setting up a Denver-Dallas Super Bowl in which the Dallas Cowboys won by a single point on a 12-yard touchdown with 34 seconds to go in the game. Efrain Herrera won the game. And Craig Morton for the Denver Broncos had a much better year, but they couldn't win at all. They had a lot of stuff happening. He did win MVP of a game that he lost, making it the second time. Super Bowl number 13 was supposed to be picked as a star-studded Super Bowl. Pittsburgh was 13-3, but New England was 13-3. Miami was 12-4. And Seattle shocked the world by making their first ever playoffs. Dallas was 10-6. Detroit 11-5. And the Rams 12-4. But the New Orleans Saints were 10-6. A very incredible year for the New Orleans Saints. The offensive leaders, Archie Manning, with 4,100 yards, a 4,000-yard passer. Terry Miller, the leading rusher. And the All-Pro was Archie Manning and Bubba Baker for Detroit. And in Super Bowl number 13, Miami beat Oakland in the wild card round, as now a second wild card was added. New Orleans beat Chicago 27-20. The Steelers beat the upstart Seattle Seahawks 7-0. Miami 6-3, two low-scoring games. Detroit 31-24 in a higher-scoring NFC. And the LA Rams, they were the number 1 seed. And then Pittsburgh beat Miami in a conference championship, and the Rams beat Detroit. In the Super Bowl number 13, the Steelers blew out the Rams again. The Rams making another Super Bowl, but the Steelers winning their second. Bradshaw did not have a great game. The game was Pittsburgh's. They led 24-0, and then the Rams made it 24-20, and then the Steelers had 2 scores late. Franco Harris was the Super Bowl MVP as the Steelers won 38-20 in Super Bowl 13. Give me 1 second. In 1979, again, the Steelers go 12-4, but this time the San Diego Chargers win 14-2. Buffalo 11-5. You can see there were a lot of 9-7s. Philadelphia surprised everybody and went 13-3. Tampa Bay shocked the world and went 12-4, and New Orleans went 10-6. The leaders, Roger Staubach had 4,200 yards passing. Dan Fouts a 98.6 rating. Fouts had 27 touchdowns, leading the league. Not much. And Earl Campbell had 1,800 yards. The All-Pro team, Dan Fouts, was the MVP. Bubba Baker won his second defensive MVP. In 1979, the playoffs were unique. The playoffs started with New England beating Houston and Dallas beating Chicago, where the Steelers took over the divisional playoffs. They blew out Buffalo. San Diego blew out New England. New Orleans beat Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia beat Dallas. In the conference championship, San Diego beat Pittsburgh late. 49 seconds to go, and San Diego scored the touchdown and won the game. A lot more yards and everything to that effect in San Diego Stadium. And New Orleans beat Philadelphia 24-13, and the shocking Saints then went to the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl was 33-19. Dan Fouts was only 18-27 for 224. And as the game went in the fourth quarter, it was 21-19, and then a touchdown, and both kickers missed the extra point, but then 2 field goals won the game as Fred Dean for San Diego, a defensive MVP. San Diego and Dan Fouts finally get their first ring. They finally get a big championship. And now we go to 1980. 1980. So Baltimore go 11-5. Houston goes 10-6. Love you blue. The Steelers, so dominant, go 6-10. Kansas City 12-4. Washington 12-4. Minnesota 12-4, and the Rams are 13-3. When it comes to the leaders, it was Dan Fouts, 4,700 yards, 32 touchdowns. He looked really good. The rushing was Walter Payton with 1659 again. The All-Pro was Brian Sipe for Cleveland and Gary Johnson for San Diego on defense. Cleveland went 9-7. And looking at the wild cards, Cleveland didn't make it as Buffalo did. In 1980, San Diego beat Buffalo, Detroit beat Atlanta. Then Houston beat Baltimore, San Diego beat Kansas City, Minnesota beat Washington, and Detroit all over the Rams. While Houston beat San Diego and Minnesota beat Detroit, setting up a Houston-Minnesota Super Bowl. And the 1980 Super Bowl champion was the Houston Oilers. Houston had done it. Houston had come through and gone to the Superdome and beat the Minnesota Vikings, 30-17. Kenny Stabler was the quarterback that Houston always needed. But the story of the Super Bowl era was the 226 yards rushing by Earl Campbell, one of the greatest individual efforts ever in a 30-17 win. The game was close until Barber caught a 6-yard pass from Stabler, and Kenny Stabler had won a Super Bowl, and he'd won one with the Houston Oilers, making him the best Oiler quarterback of all time in Super Bowl 15. I don't know what Vark.tech is, but okay, whatever the heck it is. I'm wondering if that is one of those. Okay, that's one of those things. There it is. Yeah, we don't like spam. Spam's an idiot. I hate spam. I'd rather have nobody and talk to myself. 30-17 there in 1980. So the 80s begin and 1981 starts, and a whole new batch of teams as Buffalo is good, Cincinnati is 13-3, and same with Denver. Where Washington, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco all win their division. Tampa Bay, another crack at it. The leaders show simply that Dan Fouts another 4,000-yard passing season. 35 touchdowns for Theismann. The All-Pro Dan Fouts again, and Jack Lambert for Pittsburgh. It's the 1981 playoffs. In the 81 playoffs, we had a little bit as Kansas City beat Miami. Philadelphia beat Green Bay. Green Bay unbelievably in. Cincinnati beat Buffalo. Denver beat Kansas City. San Francisco beat Washington, and Tampa Bay looked to be great. Could Tampa Bay make a Super Bowl? Tampa Bay made the Super Bowl against San Francisco, and Cincinnati beat Denver big. In the big game, everybody favored Tampa Bay, and it was Super Bowl 16, and Tampa Bay lost by 6 points. In one of the best Super Bowls ever, as back-to-back interceptions for touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Brown had a pick six, and Holt had a pick six within 2 minutes of each other. But Cincinnati scored with 3:12 to go, and they won the game, 37-31. It was an incredible game with Tampa Bay not really moving the ball at all, but Pete Johnson with 132 yards and 4 touchdowns rushing ended up winning the game, 30, 132, and 4 touchdowns. And Pete Johnson won it, and the Cincinnati Bengals have a world championship. But now you got into 1982, and now the strike happened. And the strike messed everything up. The top 8 went, and we had some teams with losing records make it in. And I'll be back in a second. I want to get some water. Sorry I needed this. Well, 1982 saw San Diego and LA tie in Dallas and Tampa Bay. Leaders were not that important, but Joe Montana threw 9 games, passed for 2,700 yards. He won the MVP, and Doug Martin from Minnesota won the defensive one. In the strike-shortened playoffs, New England beat Seattle. Pittsburgh upset the Raiders. Miami beat Cincinnati. San Diego beat Buffalo. San Francisco beat Detroit. Tampa Bay lost to Atlanta. Washington in overtime against the Giants, and Dallas won. New England blew out Miami. San Diego beat Pittsburgh again. Washington beat San Francisco by a single point. And Atlanta beat Dallas. In the conference finals, there was New England making their first Super Bowl against the Washington Redskins. And the Washington Redskins blew out New England 37-6. 24-3 at halftime. Joe Theismann, 20-26, 3 touchdowns, and winning the MVP. And the Redskins win the strike-shortened 82 season. In 83, it was a little bit of the same. As in 1983, you had Miami, Pittsburgh, who was 10-6. Houston went 1-15. Seattle was 10-6. Washington and Dallas were both 12-4, but Washington was better on head-to-head record. They beat Dallas twice. Minnesota made it, and the Rams were looking to go again. The Rams were always pretty good. The leaders here in 1983, Lynn Dickey for Green Bay. And they look good. The All-Pro was Joe Montana again. Joe was trying to get a championship. Joe was having no luck trying to get a championship. And then in the 1983 playoffs, Joe tried to get a championship. And Denver beat Kansas City. St. Louis beat Dallas. Pittsburgh beat Miami in a big upset. Kind of an upset. Seattle beat Denver. Washington beat Minnesota, and the Rams beat St. Louis. Conference championships, Pittsburgh again beat Seattle in the playoffs. And the Rams beat Washington, and the Steelers and the Rams met for the 3rd time in the Super Bowl, and the Rams won 24-17. Vince Ferragamo, the MVP. Stout and Malone were absolutely horrible. But yet it was the Steelers almost taking the lead. Lansford got it, but that was it. Vince Ferragamo, 3 touchdowns, 265, and the Rams won another Super Bowl. They looked really good. And in 1984, they wanted to repeat. In 84, Miami went 12-3-1 with a new guy named Dan Marino, scoring 548 points. Houston and Seattle were there. The Giants, Green Bay, and San Francisco How good was Marino? Well, you tell me. He didn't throw as much as Neil Lomax. But the passer rating was slightly higher. And the passing attempts not as much, but Marino was 2 attempts from taking the lead. He was only 1 behind DeBerg. Marino had 54 touchdowns. And he looked really good. He had less than 20 interceptions. Eric Dickerson had over 2,000 yards rushing. And in the All-Pro, Dan Marino and Mark Gastineau, the MVP. Then in 1984, the playoffs. New England beat Kansas City. Philadelphia beat Washington. Then it was Miami beat Houston in a high-scoring game. Seattle beat New England 41-31. San Francisco beat the Giants. And Green Bay beat Philadelphia. Green Bay, an upstart team, a real upstart team. Arkansas Tech, I wish. A.T. Arkansas Tech. Yeah, that was, that other guy that was being an idiot on there and just putting in stuff. In the AFC Championship game, Miami beat Seattle by a big margin, and San Francisco crushed Green Bay, setting up one of the most anticipated Super Bowls ever. It was Marino against Montana. It was one of the best, most hyped games ever. It was in Stanford Stadium, in San Francisco's backyard. And as a second-year player, Dan Marino wins the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 19 for Dan Marino. They had a 28-17 lead, and they ended up winning. Marino was the MVP with 4 touchdowns. A great, memorable Super Bowl performance. 31 of 47, 373 with 4 touchdowns. An incredible performance. Miami 28-24 winners. Dan Marino, Super Bowl champion. In 1985, a team that was good, hasn't been good for 20 years, became very good. But that was in the NFC. In the AFC, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Raiders. In the NFC, Dallas and the Chicago Bears. An unbelievable year for the Bears. And the LA Rams again were 13-3. The leaders this time, Dan Marino threw for 4,300 yards. The fresh Super Bowl winner was looking to beat the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, it was at week 13, had played Dan Marino before, but Chicago won 34-19 on a Monday night game. In fact, Chicago's only loss was to the Washington Redskins 17-13. All-Pro Roger Craig won the MVP and Andre Tippett for New England. 1985. And in the 1985 playoffs, Miami beat San Diego in a thriller, 41-40. It was an incredible game with over 1,000 yards of total offense. Actually, no, 991 yards of total offense. It was an incredible up and down game where Miami led 27-7, and then the back and forth battle, 41-40, the final. The Giants beat San Francisco 45-28, where the Steelers beat the Raiders again in the playoffs 35-14. An unbelievable Pittsburgh Steelers, an unbelievable Steelers team just kept going. They came out of nowhere. The Jets won. They beat Miami, crushed them. Dallas beat the Rams, and Chicago killed the Giants. In a conference championship, the Steelers would play in Super Bowl 20 as they beat the New York Jets, as Chicago beat Dallas in a high-scoring game. And how would the Steelers do against this miracle Chicago team that barely got dented all year? Well, they got their butts kicked in the worst loss yet. Chicago just absolutely killed the Steelers, 55-17. Walter Payton had 4 touchdowns as he was very happy with Mike Ditka, as Mike Ditka overused Walter Payton on the 1-yard line. Willie Gault returned the opening kick for a touchdown. Walter Payton from the 1-yard line, and it was after one quarter, it was 28-7. Well, I'll tell you what. Walter Payton had a 4-yard run, a 3-yard run, and another 3-yard run. They won 55-17, and he was MVP. They killed the Steelers in the '85 Super Bowl, in Super Bowl 20. In 1986, Cleveland had one of their best teams in a long time. 14-2, the Raiders, and the Raiders were good, and New England was good. In the NFC, St. Louis was good. Chicago was 12-4, and San Francisco was 13-3. The leaders in the offense, Dan Marino had over 5,000 yards passing for the first time ever, 44 touchdowns and 24 interceptions. Eric Dickerson at 2,136 yards rushing was unbelievable. Gary Anderson for San Diego had 110 receptions. Dan Marino winning the MVP, Lawrence Taylor on defense. And in the 1986 playoffs, in the first round, New York beat Denver, and then Minnesota beat Washington. Then you had New England beating the Raiders, then the Jets beating Cleveland at the biggest in Cleveland. And many people thought Cleveland might win in double overtime after coming back against the Jets. But the Jets ended up winning. Chicago blew out St. Louis, and San Francisco blew out Minnesota. It was New England beating the Jets, and San Francisco beating Chicago and stopping their run. New England looked very good, and they were going to play the San Francisco 49ers for the Super Bowl. And in 1986, the New England Patriots beat San Francisco. Bill Walsh was being known as the person that couldn't win the big game. Bill Walsh couldn't win the big game, as they led 31-17 with a garbage touchdown late. It was New England's Tony Eason that won the Super Bowl MVP, 307 yards. Tony Eason will always be known as a quarterback with a great Super Bowl performance, as Kemp was in for a terrible Montana. Montana was injured that game, and Kemp came in and played as Montana was hurt, and he didn't do anything well. But then the next year, in 1987, Montana was a lot healthier. Joe Montana, a lot healthier. But Cleveland, in a strike-shortened year, Indianapolis, Cleveland, and Denver, and St. Louis, Chicago wins their division again, and San Francisco. Atlanta went 0-12. But San Francisco went 11-1. And in 12 games in a strike-shortened season, Marino had a lot of yards. Reuben Mays, great for New Orleans. Neil Lomax won the MVP and Reggie White on defense. In 1987, the Super Bowl 22. New England beat the New York Jets 17-12. New Orleans beat Philadelphia 30-20. Then Denver beat Cleveland. In 1987 at Denver. New England beat Indianapolis. Chicago beat St. Louis. St. Louis couldn't even win a playoff game. And San Francisco beat New Orleans 13-10. In the conference championships, Denver scored 20 in the second half to beat New England. The comeback, in San Francisco blew out Chicago. And in 1987, Denver would play San Francisco, and the 49ers would win their first Super Bowl. Bill Walsh got the moniker off his back of not being able to win the big game, losing to Cincinnati, losing to Marino and Miami. It was tied at 24, and San Francisco won the game with 8:53 to go in the game. The MVP was Roger Craig, 96 rushing yards, 55 catches, 2 touchdowns. It was incredible, and San Francisco had a few players hurt that day. The 49ers 31-24 winners. In 1988, the Cincinnati Bengals went 14-2. Cleveland went 12-4, but Denver 9-7 and New England 10-6. The Giants, though, in the NFC went 9-7. Chicago 12-4, Minnesota 12-4. The Rams and San Francisco, and the Rams beat San Francisco twice. And in 1988, leaders. Jim Everett had 4,412 yards. Dickerson had 1,517 for yards. Wade Wilson was the best passer. Unbelievable. Marino threw 31 interceptions. He also threw 42 touchdowns. The All-Pro was Boomer Esiason. Reggie White was the second straight defensive MVP. And in 1988, for Super Bowl number 23, Cleveland killed Seattle in the first round in the wild card, while San Francisco beat Minnesota by a point. Denver beat New England. Cleveland beat Cincinnati. The Giants beat the Rams. And San Francisco beat Chicago big. Well, Cleveland beat Denver big in the AFC Championship game. Cleveland made a Super Bowl. And they beat Denver big, while San Francisco beat the Giants by 7. And in the Super Bowl, Cleveland played San Francisco. San Francisco won dominantly. They won Super Bowl 23. They were now back-to-back champions. But this would be Bill Walsh's final game, as Roger Craig won his second straight Super Bowl MVP. With George Seifert coming into the picture, the real question was, in 1989, could the 49ers win 3 Super Bowls? When 89, Pittsburgh went 12-4. You can see in their schedule, where is Pittsburgh? Here they go. You can see that they lost the first 2 games. And then they went 12-2 the rest of the way, winning very, very close games all the way down. They ended on an 8-game winning streak. You'll remember that great season of '89 for the Steelers. Buffalo was 10-6. Denver was 12-4. On the NFC, San Francisco was 15-1. They looked great. This was George Seifert's first ever chance. The only team San Francisco lost to was Tampa Bay. They only lost to Tampa Bay. They were considered one of the greatest teams of all time. The leaders: Jim Everett again, Dan Marino, all those high passing yards. Montana was good. Montana's quarterback rating was incredible. Montana had 39 touchdowns. He was unbelievable. And he won MVP. Jimmy Everett won MVP, though. Chris Dolman was the defensive MVP. Angered by that, 1989, the playoffs. Had Cleveland beating the Raiders and the Rams beating the Giants. Then in the divisional round, Buffalo killed Denver. Pittsburgh beat Cleveland in overtime. After being down 28-7, they came back, and Bubby Brister to Merrill Hodge in overtime. They win the divisional and go to the AFC title game. Washington beat Minnesota 17-9, and the 49ers' Joe Montana showed that he was the better one of Jim Everett, 24-32, 345, and 4 touchdowns. And he won the MVP of the game. In a conference title, Buffalo upset Pittsburgh. And San Francisco beat Washington by a lot. And in the Super Bowl, Buffalo and San Francisco, it was 49-17. San Francisco smashed them. Joe Montana played a perfect game at 6 touchdowns. He didn't need to throw the ball every down, but he won MVP, another MVP. They were three-peats. San Francisco had three-peated. Roger Craig, the first 2 MVPs, then Joe Montana. The 49ers were the first three-peat team, and the question was, how long could this go? In 1990 now, they had Buffalo, Houston, and the Raiders. Dallas, Chicago, and San Francisco. San Francisco wanted a four-peat. The leaders here individually, Warren Moon at 4,500 yards passing and 45 touchdowns. Sanders ran well. The All-Pro Warren Moon MVP, Derek Thomas. And then in 1990, here come the playoff time right now. Houston beat Pittsburgh in the wild card at Houston. Miami beat Kansas City, San Francisco big. The Giants beat the Rams in a revenge game. Then you had the Raiders beating Houston, Buffalo beating Miami, San Francisco beating Dallas, and New York beating Chicago. In the conference championship games, Buffalo in overtime won 13-7, going to their second straight Super Bowl, and the New York Giants 17-16 winners. In Super Bowl 25, the Buffalo Bills would play the New York Giants to see who would win the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl champion was the Buffalo Bills, 14-10. Buffalo had lost one, but Buffalo would never lose more than one Super Bowl in a row. They would never lose more than one Super Bowl in a row. A very defensive game. And the MVP was Cornelius Bennett, who had 3 sacks on the day. Buffalo gets their Super Bowl win. And in 1991, the Buffalo Bills tried to repeat their Super Bowl win. And standing-wise, Buffalo was then 12-4, Houston and LA. Washington Redskins were big, Chicago was 12-4, and San Francisco was 9-7. The leaders here very easily. Warren Moon again with passing. Steve Young doing very good. Sanders a great rushing game again. Jim Kelly and Clyde Simmons were the MVPs. And could Buffalo was going to try and win again. Their Super Bowl, they were going to try and defend it. The Raiders beat Kansas City. Pittsburgh upset Miami. San Francisco beat Dallas. Detroit beat Philadelphia. Then Houston beat the Raiders. Buffalo beat the Steelers by 10. Chicago beat San Francisco. Washington beat Detroit in a big one. Then Buffalo beat Houston and Washington beat Chicago 10-7. It was the Buffalo-Washington Super Bowl and Washington by a field goal. They get the field goal, Norwood with the kick, and at the very end, they threw an interception late. They were at the Washington 28-yard line with 3:55 to go. After a punt and a return, 3:30, they punted, a nice return. They start at the Washington 28 and they throw an interception. One pass for 13 down to the 15, they throw an interception. And the Redskins end up winning the game. So that was very, very big. So they had one more time and they just lost it on downs. But Washington beat Buffalo 34-31. In 1992, the Bills wanted to get back again, but Miami just stormed the division. Miami, Houston, and Kansas City. Kansas City was unbelievable, 15-1. Looking like the best season they had since they went 14-0 and won Super Bowl I. Well, San Francisco, Minnesota, and Dallas. Dallas had a great year. The leaders here, very simply, Steve Young. Steve Young was really good. Barry Foster, the leading rusher, was for the Steelers. And the All-Pro was Steve Young and Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas is second in a row. In 1992, It was Houston winning, Pittsburgh finally beating San Diego, Washington beating Minnesota, just kicking 2 field goals, and New Orleans winning. Then it was Miami, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, and San Francisco. And in the conference championships, it was San Francisco, and it was Miami. They were going to meet again, the repeat of 1984. Would Marino get his second Super Bowl? No, they wouldn't. Again, Steve Young in San Francisco, 4 touchdowns, and he became, really, quite frankly, the MVP. What a game for Steve Young. And San Francisco ended up winning 32-20, bringing us to 1993. In 93, the Steelers started to solidify with the best record in the AFC. In the NFC, Dallas. Again, they looked good, and they wanted to make it all the way. 1993. You take a look, Emmitt Smith, 1424 in yardage. Steve Young, 4,000 yards and a great rating. The 1993 playoffs. Oh, I forgot All-Pro. The All-Pro team, Steve Young, MVP, Seth Joyner. In the 1993 playoffs, very easily, Houston beat the Raiders. Seattle beat Denver. Atlanta beat San Francisco, and Minnesota beat Green Bay. Whereas Buffalo beat Seattle, Pittsburgh killed Houston, Detroit killed Minnesota, and Dallas murdered Atlanta. Dallas looked like the favorite, but then Detroit upset them. Troy Aikman was unbelievable, but they upset them. Barry Sanders, 94 yards, but 3 touchdowns for Rodney Peete. It was incredible. So maybe the best team of all time for Dallas does not go. And Pittsburgh beat Buffalo. So Pittsburgh would have to play Detroit. And Pittsburgh got beat by Detroit badly. Anson had 4 field goals. And it was all nobody doing a whole lot of stuff. As the Detroit Lions win a Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions won the Super Bowl 33-10, giving Detroit a world championship in 1993. Well, in 94, they wanted to keep that winning ways going, as it was Indianapolis with the best record, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City. Well, Jim Harbaugh was really good for Indianapolis. Dallas, Minnesota, and San Francisco. In 94 goes 15-1. San Francisco, another 15-1 year. Marino, he did very well. Young, very good. And the touchdowns, Steve Young. Barry Sanders, another great year running. Young won it. Greg Lloyd of Pittsburgh won the MVP for defense. And in 1994, Kansas City wins. San Francisco beat Miami. Dallas beat Chicago. Green Bay beat Philadelphia. Then Pittsburgh again beat Kansas City. Indianapolis got upset by San Diego. 1994, Minnesota wins and San Francisco wins. Pittsburgh and the San Diego Chargers in 1994, and Pittsburgh wins 34-20. It was 13-12 San Diego at halftime, and then the Steelers ended up winning. Well, San Francisco beat Minnesota 21-17. And in the Super Bowl in 1994 was San Francisco by a simple 23-20 Doug Bryant 30-yard field goal, as they went all the way down and tied the Steelers and beat the Steelers in the last minute. Mark Thomas for San Francisco, a defensive MVP. And we go to 1995. Fresh off of that, the Steelers in Indianapolis again, the 2 best records in the AFC was weak, as Buffalo 11-5. A lot of 8-8 teams. So my goodness, everybody in the AFC West was a game away from everybody going 8-8. Dallas, Green Bay, and San Francisco. Dallas not getting too much wins as they kept getting beat. Scott Mitchell for Detroit was unbelievable. Almost 5,000 yards. Brett Favre was good. Emmitt Smith was good. And the All-Pro was Brett Favre and Bryce Pop for Buffalo. And in 1995 playoffs, it was Oakland beating Seattle, Buffalo beating Miami, Green Bay beating Carolina, Washington beating Philly. And then the Steelers beat Buffalo in a great game. Indianapolis beat Oakland. Dallas beat Green Bay. And Washington in overtime beat San Francisco, the previous Super Bowl winners. Well, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis in the championship game. And Pittsburgh killed them. 2 straight years they got the matchups that many predicted. But Dallas played Washington and Dallas beat Washington 31-21. And the Super Bowl between Pittsburgh and Dallas. It seems like in the 70s it could have been a great rivalry, but they never met in the Super Bowl. And Pittsburgh and Dallas had some good games, but it was never like the Pittsburgh and Rams Super Bowls of the 1970s and the 1980s. But Pittsburgh beats Dallas 24-17. So the Steelers led 24-3, and they made it 24-17. But the Steelers were outgained by Dallas, but they did have a 24-3 lead. Kevin Green, the MVP. Kevin Green was the MVP. And now we go to 1996. In 1996, New England and Houston and Denver. Here's Jacksonville, but Miami and Buffalo will take it. In the NFC, Philadelphia, Green Bay, Carolina, with Tampa Bay and San Francisco. And I think Dallas or St. Louis, one of them. The St. Louis Rams, the leaders. Drew Bledsoe was emerging. Dan Marino really good. And in 1997, the All-Pro Brunell was the MVP. Leroy Butler was for defense. In 1996, it was Jacksonville winning in overtime at Denver. Buffalo beating Miami. St. Louis beating Philadelphia, and San Francisco beating Tampa Bay. Then it was New England beating Buffalo. Jacksonville beating Houston. San Francisco beating Carolina, Green Bay beating St. Louis. Then Jacksonville beat New England. Green Bay beat San Francisco. Green Bay, Jacksonville in 1996 is now Green Bay beating Jacksonville. A 12-yard touchdown pass by Brett Favre with 4 seconds to go. No, sorry about that. To Antonio Freeman. 12-yard pass, 4 seconds to go, and they end up winning. The MVP is Brett Favre. Green Bay wins their first title, and Brett Favre gets his first championship. And then we go to 1997. 1997 saw 4 8-8s in the AFC East, but Buffalo the head-to-head winner. Pittsburgh and Jacksonville was next. Kansas City. Then the Giants, Green Bay, and San Francisco. The leaders, Dan Marino again in passing yards. Unbelievable passing yards. Herman Moore and everybody else. The All-Pro, Favre and Michael Strahan. And the 1997 playoffs had Buffalo beating San Diego, Jacksonville beating Baltimore, Tampa Bay beating the Giants, and Philadelphia beating Atlanta. Then Buffalo beat Kansas City. Pittsburgh beat Jacksonville, stopped their run. Green Bay won again, the defending champions. Tampa Bay beat San Francisco. And then here it is. Green Bay trying for their second straight win. They're going to play the Steelers. And Green Bay trying to repeat against the Steelers in Super Bowl 32. Green Bay beats the Steelers in a repeat. The Steelers losing Cordell Stewart. That was big. Longwell with 5 field goals, but Longwell, he 29-24, he kicks out one, but it didn't win the game. It just solidified it. Ryan Longwell got the MVP, and Green Bay Packers repeated, meaning that they had a chance to tie San Francisco in the 1998 season of being the only team that three-peat. But Jacksonville won 14-2, and they look good. Green Bay, though, would have to do it from the wild card as they went 12-4. Minnesota went 14-2. Peyton Manning at 4,700 yards. Randall Cunningham looked good. Cunningham had the best passer rating, the most touchdowns. Jamal Anderson was a heck of a runner. Randall Cunningham was the MVP. Strahan was the defensive MVP. And then in the playoffs, the Buffalo beat the Jets. Oakland beat Miami. Dallas beat Arizona, and San Francisco beat Green Bay. Green Bay could not three-peat. It was a wild game. They couldn't three-peat. Ironically, they were beaten by the 49ers. Denver beat Buffalo. Jacksonville would go. Atlanta beat Dallas. And Minnesota killed San Francisco. It was funny, as Denver and Jacksonville would meet again. Would Jacksonville do the same revenge? No. Denver won 41-38. And Minnesota beat Atlanta, as Atlanta couldn't go down the field and tie it. In the Super Bowl between Denver and Minnesota, it was Denver and John Elway winning his first Super Bowl. He goes out a hero after having some solid seasons in Denver, but losing in his only first all the way to second. Elway was hurt that game, and it was Walter Andrew Brister III that won the Super Bowl for Denver. Bubby Brister wins the Super Bowl for Denver. And unbelievable, as he leads a fourth quarter comeback, as they win 28-14. Bubby Brister with the World Championship Denver Broncos. And now in 1999, you could see it gets crazy. Jacksonville again with the win, with the AFC Central win, but Seattle is the best record in the AFC. St. Louis, the Rams, the greatest show on turf. 615 points for St. Louis. Look at this. 24, 35, 38, 55, 42, 47, 47, 45, 16, 27, 35, 46 to 43, 40, 30, 50, 41. They looked unbeatable. Steve Beuerlein had more yards than Kurt Warner, though. But Steve Beuerlein had 56 touchdown passes. 56. Steve Beuerlein had one of the best ever seasons. It was incredible. Where did they finish? Carolina finished 13-3, right behind St. Louis. The All-Pro gave Steve Beuerlein the MVP. And in the 1999 playoffs, Buffalo beat Indianapolis, Tennessee beat Baltimore, Tampa Bay beat Minnesota. Steve Beuerlein loses. He loses to Detroit. Jacksonville kills Buffalo. Tennessee beats Seattle. Tampa Bay beat the New York Giants, and the Rams beat Detroit. In the conference championships, Tennessee makes their first Super Bowl. In the AFC, they beat Jacksonville. In the NFC, Tampa Bay beat St. Louis in the conference championship. Tennessee, Tampa Bay. Tennessee kills them. Tennessee kills them. Tennessee wins a Super Bowl, with the MVP being Steve McNair. Steve McNair, 17 of 29, 199. They win the game, win the Super Bowl, and they look good. Oops. There we go. Al Red Sox fan, good to see you. Al Red Sox fan, very good to see you. As we're going to the next Super Bowl here. 2000. 2000, you see Miami won. Tennessee went undefeated. Tennessee went undefeated. But the question is, could they win the Super Bowl? That was the year in 2000. New Orleans had an absolutely great season. Elvis Grbac, the best passer. And Steve Berline got killed that year. Absolutely busted up. Fred Taylor, the leading rusher. The All-Pro was Jeff Garcia. Hugh Douglas for Philadelphia, the MVP. And in the year 2000, in the 2000 playoffs, Tennessee was undefeated. Question is, could they do it? But Miami beat Kansas City, Denver beat Baltimore, Washington beat Green Bay, and Tampa Bay beat Minnesota. Tampa Bay trying to get back to the Super Bowl. Oakland beat Miami. Tennessee, undefeated, beat Denver. Tampa Bay loses in overtime to Philadelphia. New Orleans beats Washington. Tennessee kills Oakland. Could they do it? Could they go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl? The Kansas City Chiefs were ready to pop the corks. They're not yet. Kansas City Chiefs were waiting for the result of the Super Bowl to see if they're going to pop their corks and remain the only undefeated, untied team to win the Super Bowl. New Orleans, but Tennessee and New Orleans, Tennessee wins, they would be popping the champagne every year. And New Orleans kills them. Kills them in the Super Bowl, 26-10. It was one of those Super Bowls, they had a 10-6 lead, and then it just went to dust. McNair, a terrible game. And Aaron Brooks, the most valuable player of the Super Bowl, in New Orleans Saints win the Super Bowl in the year 2000. But in 2001, the greatest show on turf returns. But you also had Oakland at 14-2, the Steelers at 13-3, Miami at 10-6. You had Philadelphia 9-7, Chicago 12-4, St. Louis at 14-2. They had a better defense. The leaders, the best offense were still the Rams. Warner almost 5,000 yards. Rich Gannon pretty good. Points ahead of Kurt Warner. Curtis Martin for the Jets out of the University of Pittsburgh was the best runner. Warner was the MVP. Strahan was there. And in 2001, Miami beat Denver. Seattle beat Jacksonville. Philadelphia beat Tampa Bay. And New Orleans beat Green Bay in the first round. In the second round, the Steelers scored 9. After being down 16-10, they beat Miami. Seattle would win. Chicago would beat Philadelphia. And St. Louis would beat New Orleans. Seattle and Pittsburgh would play for a third time in the playoffs. And the Steelers would kill them for the third straight time. Chicago and St. Louis. St. Louis would win at the end. 21 seconds to go, a 29-yard touchdown. Dazahir Hakeem. And the Steelers would play the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. And the Steelers would double the score and win. The Steelers win their fourth Super Bowl. Cordell Stewart, the MVP. They led 23-7. They ended up winning big. It was 26-13. And the Pittsburgh Steelers won their fourth Super Bowl. So as the defending champions in 2002. In 2002, the defending champion Steelers go 10-6 in a new format. The Jets, Steelers, Tennessee, and Oakland. And in the NFC, the Giants, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and San Francisco. Rich Gannon, unbelievable. Very good. Peyton Manning, 34 touchdowns. Ricky Williams had over 2,000 yards rushing. Rich Gannon, the MVP. Joey Porter of Pittsburgh, the defensive MVP. In the 2002 playoffs, the Jets beat Denver. Pittsburgh killed Buffalo. Tampa Bay beat Philadelphia. Green Bay killed St. Louis. Then the Jets killed Tennessee. Then Oakland beat Pittsburgh. Then San Francisco won and Green Bay won. Then Oakland killed the Jets and San Francisco in overtime. Kevin Barlow scoring to put San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Kevin Barlow from the University of Pittsburgh. And then in the Super Bowl, San Francisco killed Oakland. They absolutely destroyed them. Jeff Garcia, an MVP season, was 10-7 at the half, 21-0 in the second half. Garcia wins and he gets the MVP. And the 49ers, who went from 1972 to 1987 and didn't win a Super Bowl, they won 3 straight. They won one in 92, and they win one here in 2002. In 2003, you can see New England 13-3, Baltimore, Tennessee, and Kansas City. Kansas City went undefeated. Another undefeated team, 16-0. Could they win the Super Bowl? Kansas City is undefeated. Dallas, Green Bay, New Orleans, and San Francisco, St. Louis are tied. There you see Trent Green, 4,200 yards. LaDainian Tomlinson, 2,111 yards. That should give Trent Green MVP. Michael Strahan was the defensive MVP. In 2003 playoffs, could Kansas City go undefeated? Well, let's see. Miami killed New England, 13-3, and they're done. Baltimore beat Indianapolis. San Francisco beat Philadelphia. St. Louis beat New Orleans. Tennessee beat Baltimore by 1. And Kansas City blew out Miami. Green Bay beat San Francisco, and St. Louis beat Dallas. Then it was Kansas City and Tennessee. And then it was St. Louis and Green Bay. If Kansas City wins the Super Bowl, then Kansas City will be 2 teams that went undefeated and won the Super Bowl. Nope, St. Louis won. St. Louis won. St. Louis won. They led big at the end. But the MVP of this game was Torrey Holt. 11 catches, 124, and 2 touchdowns. And the St. Louis Rams kind of win the greatest show on turf. But then in 2004, they would have to repeat. But the Jets, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, and Denver, we'll look at that. Well, Philadelphia, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Seattle. The leaders, Peyton Manning, almost 5,000 yards, 57 touchdowns. The All-Pro was Peyton Manning. In the 2004 playoffs, you had the Jets, Denver. New England is getting a reputation of having great regular seasons and not winning anything. Bill Belichick a little bit under fire for not winning a championship to this point. Minnesota in overtime, and Seattle now in the NFC. Then Pittsburgh beat the Jets. Ben Roethlisberger's rookie year. Indianapolis beating Denver. Atlanta beating Minnesota. And Philadelphia beating Seattle. But Indianapolis kills Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia wins. It's McNabb versus Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl 39 goes to Indianapolis. Indianapolis, 7:59 to go, they win the game. McNabb might have been MVP, and he was. He was a losing team, but he was the MVP, played the best. Peyton Manning had 3 picks. Philadelphia had a chance to win, but they didn't. In the finals, 31-24, Peyton Manning gets a Super Bowl championship. In 2005, New England again goes 12-4. Cincinnati 14-2. Indianapolis and Jacksonville good. San Diego wins their division. In the East, Washington, then Chicago wins a horrible NFC North. Carolina 14-2, and Seattle wins the NFC West. Trent Green, very good. Carson Palmer. And Cincinnati had a very strong team as Carson Palmer won the MVP. They won the MVP. And then when you take a look at the 2005 playoffs, you had Denver beating San Diego, and again, New England losing. New England had trouble even winning playoff games. Wow, Dallas beats Seattle, Tampa Bay killed Chicago. Jacksonville upset Peyton Manning in 2005, 23-17. They couldn't win at home. Cincinnati beat Denver. Tampa Bay beat Washington, and Carolina in overtime. And Carolina beat Dallas in overtime. Then it was Cincinnati and Carolina. Cincinnati and Carolina in Super Bowl 40. And it ended up being Cincinnati by 2 points. Shane Graham kicked a 55-yard field goal to win the Super Bowl. That was incredible. The MVP was Shane Graham with 5 field goals. And the Cincinnati Bengals had a Super Bowl championship. Another one to go with their other one earlier. In 2006, the Jets, Baltimore. Pittsburgh was 9-7. Indianapolis and San Diego. The other ones were Dallas, Chicago, New Orleans, and Seattle. Seattle was starting to pick it up. Arizona's there too. The leaders in 2006, Peyton Manning and Tony Romo looked really good. Dallas was a threat, and they're becoming a threat. Peyton Manning, Brian Urlacher. These were 2 MVP seasons right here by both the teams. And in the 2006 playoffs, you had the Jets winning, beating New England. Bill Belichick at this point, he couldn't win a playoff game. Not only the big one, he couldn't win a playoff game. Indianapolis beat Denver, Dallas won, and Arizona won. Then Baltimore won, Indianapolis won, Dallas won, and Arizona. And in the NFC title game, the AFC, Dallas in overtime. And then Baltimore was Baltimore and Dallas in the Super Bowl, and the Dallas Cowboys beat Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl champions. Romo looked good. Romo was the MVP, 344 and 2 touchdowns. And the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl champions there. In 2007, New England goes 15-1. Their only loss, the Dallas Cowboys, 37-31. To the defending Super Bowl champions, that was their only loss. Cleveland was good, Indianapolis was good, San Diego. Dallas was in the playoffs. Could they repeat? But Green Bay had a better record, and Seattle was tied with them. For the leaders, Brett Favre, 4,700. Tom Brady was unbelievable. The touchdowns, Brady had 40, but Favre had 44. The Danian Tomlinson, 1,700 yards rushing. The All-Pro Brett Favre and Lofa Tatupu. Well, the playoffs in 2007. San Diego beat Tennessee. Cleveland beat Denver. Seattle beat Atlanta. Tampa Bay beat Philadelphia. Then, San Diego beat Indianapolis. New England blanked Cleveland. They were looking good. They finally got a playoff win. Dallas beat Seattle. Green Bay beat Tampa Bay in overtime. In the conference championships, New England would make their first Super Bowl under Bill Belichick. They beat San Diego by 13. Dallas won. Dallas and New England in the Super Bowl, and Dallas beats New England. They led 20-0, and it ended up New England. It was final of 20-14. The MVP, Jason Witten, 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Jason Witten, the MVP. And Dallas is 2 in a row. They've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. Back-to-back Dallas Super Bowl winners. As Miami then goes 15-1. And New England reeling from that loss. They go 7-9, miss the playoffs. Pittsburgh wins. Indianapolis goes 15-1. Miami and Indianapolis. And Oakland wins their division with a losing record. Washington, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Arizona all win at 11-5. Very funny there. There it is, you can see. So that's how they finished up. Looking at the Kurt Warner, 5,000 yards for Arizona in 2008. MVP was Kurt Warner and DeMarcus Ware for Dallas. Dallas was trying for a three-peat, just like the 49ers. Green Bay couldn't do it. So what did Dallas do in 2008? Pittsburgh won the first game against Baltimore. Oakland beat Tennessee. Philadelphia in overtime. New Orleans. Then the Steelers beat Miami. Indianapolis beat Oakland. New Orleans beat Washington. Arizona loses to Philadelphia. Then Indianapolis beats the Steelers, and New Orleans beats Philadelphia. New Orleans, Indianapolis, New Orleans wins. Drew Brees, MVP. Incredible. They're up 38-21, and New Orleans held on. 515 yards, that's it. 38-31, and that's the game. New Orleans gets a Super Bowl championship. They almost had one in the late 70s, early 80s. So New Orleans in 2009, as they closed the decade out. First the Jets, New England misses the playoffs again, Baltimore. Jacksonville and Indianapolis, San Diego. Then the Giants, Green Bay, New Orleans, and Arizona. Arizona was 8-8, not that great. Brees at Matt Schaub at 5,000 yards. Brees 4,800. Brees with 50 touchdowns. Chris Johnson 1,848 in rushing yards. The All-Pro was Drew Brees and Jared Allen. And 2009 playoffs. You had the Jets, Indianapolis in overtime over Baltimore. The Giants in Philadelphia. Then you had Jacksonville, Indianapolis, New Orleans in one heck of a game, 97 points there. And Green Bay, the defending champion New Orleans Saints, they got shut out against Green Bay. Indianapolis again, Indianapolis and Green Bay, and Indianapolis wins. Peyton Manning his second Super Bowl. I think they made 3 in a row, but he's 2 for 3. And recapping here was really good. Dwight Freeney of Indianapolis, 3 sacks. And Indianapolis Super Bowl champions. But we go into 2010 now. The Jets, Pittsburgh, Houston, San Diego, Philadelphia, Chicago, New Orleans, and San Francisco. The leaders, Matt Schaub looking good. Chris Johnson, the leading rusher. Drew Brees, again, Clay Matthews, a new name. 2010, the playoffs. They have Pittsburgh, New England winning a playoff game over Houston. San Francisco, and Green Bay. Then you have San Diego and the Jets. New England, Belichick can't win. Belichick cannot win the big one. New Orleans and Chicago. Then San Diego beat the New York Jets, and Chicago with San Diego and Chicago, and San Diego wins the Super Bowl over Chicago. Jay Cutler. They came back, but San Diego ended up winning it. They looked good. The winner was Darren Sproles, 181 yards in return. San Diego Super Bowl champions. Phillip Rivers gets his Super Bowl ring. Finally, a great passer. He gets a Super Bowl ring. Phillip Rivers gets a Super Bowl championship. And they got to feel good, as San Diego would miss the playoffs the next year. New England, Baltimore, Houston, Kansas City. The Giants, Green Bay, Atlanta, and San Francisco. Leaders here. Stafford for Detroit looked good. And the All-Pro, Drew Brees again, the MVP. Playoffs for 2011. And here it is. New England now on a mission, 36-7. Pittsburgh, 22-19. That was big. Chicago, a win over Green Bay. New Orleans, another win. Then you have New England, another win against Houston. Baltimore kills Pittsburgh. New Orleans, another win. Atlanta, a big win. Conference championships. Looks like New Orleans, 24-7. Atlanta, 42-31. 2011 Atlanta, very good team. But New England, they could win it all. Finally, Bill Belichick loses. He loses on a great Atlanta comeback. 38-34, Atlanta comes back. Atlanta down 34-24, 2 touchdowns. And Matt Ryan, unbelievable day, one of the best ever. He threw the touchdown, 9:08 to go in the game. They end up winning. Atlanta will always be known. Atlanta's Super Bowl championship will always be known as the comeback championship over the New England Patriots after being down big in the fourth quarter. But 2012 happened. New England again, Baltimore again, Houston, Denver, Washington, Green Bay, Atlanta again, and San Francisco goes 15-1. Another 15-1 season for San Francisco. Brees again looking good. And you take a look, Arian Foster. Very big All-Pro, Peyton Manning and J.J. Watt for Houston. The 2012, Indianapolis by 1. New England killed Pittsburgh. Seattle and New York Giants. Then Denver wins. Houston wins. Washington wins. And San Francisco wins. Then it's Denver beating Houston. Then it's Washington beating San Francisco. So it'll be Denver and Washington. And Washington wins the Super Bowl. Robert Griffin III. An unbelievable year. They win the Super Bowl. 41-24. And Robert Griffin III is Super Bowl MVP. Daniel Snyder will be known as a brilliant owner who took the Redskins from absolute doom to Super Bowl champion. He will always be known as an unbelievably, incredibly good owner, and with no problems at all, because he took a floundering franchise, bought them, and they won a Super Bowl with them. In 2013, New England, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Denver, and Washington would go 2-14 the next year. Philadelphia, Chicago, talk about a Super Bowl hangover. Chicago, Carolina, and Seattle. And Peyton Manning with 5,736 yards. All-time record. And he wins MVP. Robert Mathis of Indiana. Indianapolis, 2013. Denver beats San Diego. Cincinnati wins. Carolina wins big. Arizona wins. New England wins. Can he finally get a championship? Cincinnati wins. Philadelphia wins. Seattle wins. Oh, New England cannot win the big one. Cincinnati wins. And Seattle beats Philadelphia, beats Cincinnati and Seattle. And Cincinnati wins the Super Bowl, their second Super Bowl. Andy Dalton, the MVP, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis for Cincinnati. MVP 23-10. Super Bowl 48. My goodness. 2014. The standings here. New England, Cincinnati, Houston, Denver versus Dallas, Green Bay, Atlanta, Seattle. Andrew Luck for Indianapolis, an incredible performance. Ben Roethlisberger, pretty good. Andrew Luck, MVP. J.J. Watt, MVP. Offense and defense. 2014. Playoffs. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, San Francisco in overtime over Dallas, Atlanta. Then you have Denver. Then you have New England. Then you have Atlanta and Seattle. Denver kills New England. Belichick cannot win the big game. Seattle beats Atlanta, Denver and Seattle, and Denver beats Seattle. Peyton Manning, very good. McManus hits a 47-yard field goal as time expires. And they win the Super Bowl over Seattle. MVP Peyton Manning. 2015. New England, Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, Denver. And then Washington, Minnesota, Carolina. Carolina went 15-1. Carolina's the team to watch. Pittsburgh's 14-2. Leaders. Drew Brees, incredible. Russell Wilson, incredible. But the question is, as Russell Wilson for Seattle, Von Miller for Denver. Carolina's 15-1. How will that be in the playoffs? You have New York Jets against New England, and they beat New England. Oh my goodness, New England. People wanted 20 years ago Belichick to be fired, and they're proving to be right, as he can't win the big one. The divisionals, Denver beat Kansas City, Jets beat Pittsburgh, Seattle wins, and Carolina wins. The NFC, Carolina big, Denver big. The Super Bowl, Carolina gets their first championship. Cam Newton will win it. It was 27-22. They came back. Denver led 22-10, and they just scored the last 24. Kawan Short, the MVP. And now we go to 2016. 2016, the standings. New England, Pittsburgh, Houston, Kansas City. Then Washington, Minnesota, Atlanta, and Seattle, the division winners. Washington again up there under Daniel Smith's Super Bowl winning leadership. Drew Brees over 5,000 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, All-Pro Matt Ryan, and Vic Beasley. (2016) Denver beat Pittsburgh. Houston beat Miami. Atlanta beat Dallas. Seattle beat the Giants. Then Kansas City beat Houston. New England, another number one, loses. Atlanta beat Minnesota. Seattle beat Washington. Then it's Kansas City winning, Seattle winning. Kansas City and Seattle, and Kansas City wins the Super Bowl. Alex Smith, 321, and they end up winning the Super Bowl. 27 seconds left to go. A beautiful pass in there. MVP Alex Smith of Kansas City. Incredible. So, great day for Alex Smith. And they win in 2016. Kansas City, your Super Bowl champion. Could it be a repeat as in 2017? Kansas City again, 12-4. Same with Pittsburgh. New England was better, looking for their first Super Bowl championship under Belichick and Brady. Brady and Belichick are the two people that cannot win the big game. They can get there, but they can't win it. Philadelphia, Minnesota, Carolina, and the Rams. The leaders, well, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady looking good. Kareem Hunt, the best runner. All-Pro Tom Brady and Chandler Jones. Now for the playoffs 2017. Can finally Brady and Belichick do it? You have Jacksonville beating Pittsburgh. Tennessee beating the Chargers. Minnesota winning. Carolina winning. And Kansas City winning. Jacksonville beating New England. Oh, they can't win a game. Minnesota barely beating the Rams. Carolina beats Philadelphia. Kansas City wins. Minnesota wins big. And Minnesota Super Bowl champions. Super Bowl 52. Case Keenum. Incredible. Minnesota led 34-13 and ended up winning. Case Keenum, MVP, did whatever he could. 19-26, 282, 3 touchdowns. 34-27. Now 2018 saw also New England 14-2. What did they have to do to win a Super Bowl? Dallas, Chicago, New Orleans, and the Rams. Rams were up there again. First time in a while. Patrick Mahomes, unbelievable. Patrick Mahomes, MVP, J.J. Watt again, he wins it. 2018, the playoffs. It was Cleveland, Pittsburgh, beating Kansas City. The Rams, huge over Philly. And then Seattle. Then it was the Chargers. Then it was New England. Unbelievable there. Chicago and New Orleans. And then New England. Could they win it? Could they finally win it for Brady? Brady and Belichick with Chicago. Chicago, an unbelievable, unlikely Super Bowl team. Coming out of nowhere. Could Brady and Belichick finally win a Super Bowl? No. No. They're up 24-13 at halftime. And they lose. Brady, unbelievable. And there it is. Tied at 24, then 31-24 win. Mitch Trubisky and New England. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady will be known as the biggest losers since Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr. Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr, and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are the biggest losers. Never winning, having a combined 0. New England, though, is 14-2 here. And you see the other things, 13-3. San Francisco is 14-2. Well, who knows? They could win it. They could win it. Jameis Winston, unbelievable. But a lot of interceptions. 35 touchdowns, 27 interceptions. Lamar Jackson and Chandler Jones. The 2019 playoffs. You have Kansas City, Pittsburgh winning, Dallas, Minnesota, Ben Roethlisberger hasn't won a thing. Baltimore, New England wins. New Orleans and San Francisco. Baltimore beats New England. And New Orleans and San Francisco, that's the last game for Brady. New Orleans and Baltimore in a championship. And Baltimore wins their first. They had 28 fourth quarter points. 28 fourth quarter points. As Lamar Jackson looked good, unbelievable. They tied it up, and then they scored with 1:12 to go. MVP, Michael Thomas in New Orleans, 13 catches, 144, and 2 touchdowns. Another losing Super Bowl MVP. And then finally last year, (2020), Miami, Baltimore, Indianapolis, and Kansas City. Dallas in a terrible record. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and Seattle. Tom Brady, unbelievable for Tampa Bay. Can he win a Super Bowl? Can he finally win a Super Bowl? Kyler Murray of Arizona, MVP. Fred Warner of San Francisco. And then, could Tom Brady finally win a Super Bowl? You have Tennessee, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and New Orleans winning. Then Buffalo versus Kansas City in overtime. Then Green Bay and New Orleans. Then Buffalo beats Kansas City. And Green Bay beats New Orleans. So it'll be Buffalo and Green Bay. And Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. Buffalo wins another Super Bowl. How about that? Josh Allen, unbelievable. Incredible. Antonio Williams, the MVP, 101 yards rushing and a touchdown. So let's take a look now at the encyclopedia. Let's take a look right now at the encyclopedia, the Super Bowl era encyclopedia. That's it. We did it all. We did it all. Oh, this is good. Al Red Sox fan, good to see you. Now let's take a look at franchise by franchise. So franchise by franchise. Let's take a look at these as it is loading. I'm going to 11. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save everything and then go from there. So here's the encyclopedia right now as it is setting up. Yes, we're going to take a look here, looking, and there it is. All right, we're on the right one. So the summary, let's take a look at in the Super Bowl era only. Super Bowl era. You have Don Shula. Give me 1 second here as I have to do something. So let's take a look right now at the Super Bowl era. That's it. So, the most points scored, the Jets in 68, 72-7 over Boston. Oh my goodness. This was the one they led big, and my goodness. That was incredible. So career, Don Shula, 277 wins. He never got 300. Drew Brees with 80,000 yards passing. There it is, 80,000 yards. He had 636 in touchdowns, 251 in interceptions. Incredible. So, there it is. Oops. Sorry about this. I just got to load the encyclopedia again. I hate that. We're going to go franchise by franchise after this and take a look there. And then in the Super Bowl era, then we're going to take a look at the World Championship era. So as we take a look, they're taking a look here. It's almost done. So as they take a look again, the encyclopedia is loading. So here it is, sorry. Championships in the Super Bowl era. San Francisco has 7 Super Bowls. They have 7 Super Bowl wins. 4 wins for both Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Washington Redskins. That was a major win in 2012. 3 wins for the Cincinnati Bengals, 81, 05, and 13. 2 wins for the Buffalo Bills, Chicago, Denver. Detroit has 2 Super Bowl wins. Green Bay, back-to-back, 96 and 97, and that's it. Indianapolis has 2 Super Bowl wins, and that's it. Baltimore did not have one. Kansas City had an undefeated Super Bowl win. LA Rams had 2 Super Bowl wins. Minnesota had 2. New Orleans had 2. Oakland had 2. San Diego had 2. 1 win. Atlanta, the Ravens, Carolina, Houston, the Oilers in 1980, Miami in 84, the Dolphins, Dan Marino got his 1. New England had 1 Super Bowl championship in 1986. St. Louis Rams and the Tennessee Titans. New England only 1 Super Bowl. The biggest loser in history were Vince Lombardi and Bill Belichick. They couldn't win the big one. 2 undefeated seasons for 16-0, Fisher and Vermeil, and they both lost the Super Bowl. Both lost the big game. Dickerson had the most rushing. Receiving was Jerry Rice. Rushing was Emmitt Smith. Total points was Vinatieri. Sacks was Reggie White. Dave Brown with interceptions. Interceptions, there's Jake Scott. Taking a look here, so now the career leaders. You see in the Super Bowl era, very good. Mahomes was good. Brady, very good. Yards, Brees is 1. Brady is 2. 78,000. Peyton Manning is 3. Offense, New Orleans the best. The worst with Atlanta, 74. Defense, the best with the Steelers is 74, and the worst with Minnesota of 84. Season leaders, well, Nick Foles was unbelievable in 2013. Peyton Manning, incredible yards. And that was great. Game offense. Most penalties in a game, Chicago with 21. Nobody ever played penalty free. Most time of possession, Pittsburgh in 2001. Defense, fewest total yards given up was Philadelphia. They gave up 3. Most was New Orleans, 2015. 52-49 game. They gave up 788 freaking yards to Philadelphia. Sam Bradford, 541 and 3 scores. Murray and Matthews, That was an unbelievable game. They ended up winning in overtime. Late in overtime. When you look at the standings, the best of all time, Dallas. When you look at championships, as we said before, there have been a few teams that never made it. The Chargers never made it. The LA Chargers never made it. The Boston Patriots never made it. Phoenix never made it. Tennessee Oilers never made it, of course. Las Vegas and Washington football team. But when you take a look at the Houston Texans, never made a Super Bowl. The LA Raiders never made a Super Bowl. The St. Louis Cardinals never made a Super Bowl. The Arizona Cardinals never made a Super Bowl. They still have not had a championship. The Chargers ever. And there it is. Winning your conference, the worst was 0 for 3, Seattle. 0 for 3 in Super Bowls. 0 for 2, Tampa Bay. And over. But the biggest one, New England. Where's New England? I would say for the coaches, for championships, I would say for winning the conference, Bill Belichick 0 for 3 in Super Bowls. Pete Carroll's 0 for 3 in Super Bowls. Oh my, the biggest people that couldn't win. Chuck Noll went to 5 Super Bowls and won 2. Bill Cowher went to 5 Super Bowls and won 2. And Mike Tomlin never went to 1. Don Shula only has 1 Super Bowl win. The Super Bowls are all spread out. Championships, the most was George Seifert with 3 Super Bowls. Chuck Noll had 2. Bill Cowher had 2. Noll and Cowher were tied. And Bill Cowher had a better winning percentage. Landry had 2. John Fox, Bill Walsh had 2. Holmgren, Gibbs. So you see, the best coach ever only had 3 Super Bowls. No hoarding them all. There was a lot of ones. Dick has 1. John Harbaugh has 1. Joe Schmidt has a championship. With who? Detroit. He was good in Detroit, and that was it in 72. Then, of course, game leaders attempt quarterback rating yards in a game. 541 for Bradford. Whereas, are you telling me Mike Ray had 15 sacks in a game? No. That's Green Bay had 15 sacks. Mike Ray. Defense. It says name Mike Ray, 15. But it's not giving 15 sacks. So I don't know. I don't know what in the world they were looking at. So anyway, Joe Kapp threw 9 interceptions, 5 touchdowns for Chris Johnson in a game. 8 for 8, Dan Carpenter. Defense, I guess that's... Oh, Mike Ray got sacked 15 times. Okay, I see that. Rushing, Giovanni Bernard, good. Yards in a game, Jamal Lewis had 376 against Cincinnati. 30 attempts, 4 touchdowns. Incredible. Receiving, Santana Moss had 382 on 9 catches. Moss had 74 for 48. He must have had a lot of them. So defense, Brad Van Pelt, very good. So now, really quickly, we're going to take a look at the franchises, and that's going to end everything. So now we're going to go to the teams, and here it is. Arizona, they were 4-6 in the playoffs. They won the NFC West 8-9. They never won anything else. Atlanta, they won Super Bowl 46. They won Super Bowl 46. And Mike Smith won the Super Bowl. Baltimore Colts, nope, never won at all. Never won at all. Baltimore Ravens won Super Bowl. Boston, nope. Buffalo, they won Super Bowl 25, and they won Super Bowl 55. They won 2 Super Bowls. Carolina, they won Super Bowl 50. Chicago, they won Super Bowl 20 and now Super Bowl 20 and Super Bowl 53. Cincinnati, 3-time Super Bowl winners. Cleveland, nothing. After 9 championships in the 50s and the 60s, they don't. Dallas, 4-time Super Bowl winners. 71, 77, and that's it, 51 and 52. Denver, 2-time Super Bowl winners. Detroit, 2-time Super Bowl winners. Green Bay, 2-time Super Bowl winners. The Houston Oilers, 1-time Super Bowl winners. Bum Phillips. Houston Texans, nope, nothing. Indianapolis, 2-time Super Bowl winners. Jacksonville, nope, nothing. Kansas City, 2-time Super Bowl winners. The LA Chargers, nope. The Rams, the Raiders, the Raiders never won a Super Bowl. The Raiders never won a Super Bowl. They never even appeared in a Super Bowl. The Raiders never appeared in a Super Bowl. The Rams, they appeared in 2, but they won 2, they appeared in 4. And they didn't appear in one since 1983 for the LA Rams. Las Vegas, nothing. Miami, they won 1 Super Bowl in their history. Super Bowl 19. Minnesota, they won 2. The Jets, nothing. Broadway Joe was, I heard something about him. He was okay. New England, they only won 1 Super Bowl. Bill Belichick cannot win. The playoffs, they're 23 and 23. They weren't good. Tom Brady. Tom Brady, not the greatest. But passing yards, everything. Nope, couldn't win the big one. New Orleans, 2 championships. The Oakland Raiders, Super Bowl 3 and 4, back to back. And that's it. They played in 4 Super Bowls. Philadelphia, nope. Phoenix, oh God, no. The Steelers, 4-time Super Bowl winners. They played in 10 Super Bowls. They're 10 and 4 in Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin as a coach, he's 143, 80 and 1. He's never had a losing record. He also is 7 and 10 in the playoffs and never won a Super Bowl. Playoff games, well, always bitter. Never made a Super Bowl. He never made an AFC champ. He made 1 AFC championship game and lost by 7 points. And that's it. San Diego, 2-time Super Bowl winner. They won a game 62-42. Oh my goodness. 62-42. That's huge. That was crazy. That's 104 points. San Francisco. 7-time Super Bowl winners. 7-2 in Super Bowls. 7-2 in Super Bowls. Seattle, never. 0 for 3. St. Louis Cardinals, they only won one playoff game. St. Louis Rams, they won a Super Bowl. 2003. Tampa Bay, nope, 0 for 2 in Super Bowls. The Tennessee Oilers, terrible. Tennessee Titans, they won one Super Bowl. 1 for 2. Washington Football Team, terrible. Washington Redskins, 4-time Super Bowl winners. Quickly, your coaches in the Super Bowl era. Don Shula, 277, 164, and 4. Bill Belichick, couldn't win the big one. Tom Landry, 2 Super Bowls. There you see. But that's Super Bowl era. Highlights, most teams, points, one team, 72. Most points, both teams, 118. Jacksonville and Tampa Bay, 66-52. Oh my goodness. Jacksonville had 66 points and 243 yards. Oh my goodness. Fumble returns. All right, that's crazy. Fumble your return. Kickoff return. That's got to be an anomaly. That's an 1,100-yard game, the 66-47 game. That's most points, both teams. 41 points for Dallas in a quarter. Wow. Best comebacks, down by 28. Attempts for passing, Peyton Manning was 66. Highest completion, did anybody? Yep, John Stofa. 1967, completed them all. Longest field goals, Janikowski. Most punts in a game, 15. And Jordan Berry, in a playoff game where they lost at Cleveland, 16-13. Kickoff return touchdowns. Marquise Lee, 3 in one game. Most sacks in a game, 6 is the record. All right, well, that's going to be it for us today. I got to get to bed. I got to do one quick Wreckfest race. I'm going to take all this, combine, and put it on the website. Have a great day. What a great day. Thank you for watching. And I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. See you later.